this is going to be a ramble that I don't know where it's going to begin or end, but I'm going to get some thoughts out. And it's about Aleksandr Kolpakov, aka Russian Deadpool from the Skeptic Feminist channel, and his being arraigned this Tuesday for the murder of Heather Annabelle, aka Poison Ivy, his co-host on the Skeptic Feminist channel. And more, I want to talk about one specific part of the reporting that's been done on this case, and it's about how Aleksandr Kolpakov was formerly the president of the Western Colorado Atheists and Freethinkers. I think I'm going to start by saying I just watched Thunderfoot's video about why he's quitting the skeptic community. His reasoning is that a bunch of other skeptics have been talking about this case in a manner that you should not do before the body is even cold. And what I have to say about that is there is no script for how people will react to death. Okay? And there is no, right way to react. And I know that I've been talking about this case pretty clinically, as if I am an unfeeling bastard. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I am pretty distanced from this case. Now, I have met both the murderer and the victim once, just once, but I don't feel real pain in this situation, and I'm talking about this in a way that I feel comfortable with. And I know that some people feel comfortable making jokes right away. And they come from a community where there is no such thing as too soon. Something that was highlighted in Thunderfoot's video. And everyone picks their time for when they are done with whatever club that they belong in. Some people choose to leave YouTube altogether after, a couple months or a year of making a lot of content that feeds into the communities that we're in, and then all of a sudden they just stop posting. Similarly, people join MMO video games, and they play for a while, and they create a character that other characters like to see when they log on, and they role play with each other, and then one day the person just disappears from the game, and what time you choose, is largely dependent on what feels right to you. And I can't tell you what's right for you or not, but I can tell you that I'm wearing this nostalgic Freethinkers of Colorado Springs t-shirt specifically for this video to say that I too have decided to take a different path and not put my efforts into communities that can be co-opted. In fact, I was very much a part of the Occupy movement that in Thunderfoot's video he spoke about being co-opted, and yes, I experienced that firsthand. And as far as the atheist community, I was largely oblivious to the way that it was being co-opted when it was, And that was one of the reasons why I experienced so much drama when I was the vice president of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs, because there were a few different atheist groups, right, in Colorado Springs. And I tried to be a social butterfly and go to all of them, and I was filming and putting on YouTube the major speakers when they would come into town, hosted by whatever group, and this was appreciated by the people that were in those groups. They weren't really connected to YouTube as much as they were blogs and book reading and whatnot. At a certain point, there was drama. And I felt like the drama was started because there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. When you get very intelligent, skeptical-minded people, many of them want recognition. They want to be in control. They want to be in charge. And when they first join a group and they see that, this group is pretty well sewn up as far as who the officers in the group are and who's the board and whatnot. And there's a process that I could go through that could take a couple years for me to finally make it to be the president of my little club here. Or I could start my own. So when I started filming all of these events in Colorado Springs that were of the non-religious persuasion, I started in the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs, and then I went on to the Pikes Peak Skeptics Society, which was just as fruitful for me, and I'm still friends with many of those people to this day. They were a tightly knit group, and half of them worked for the Richard Dawkins Foundation in Colorado Springs. It was right outside of Colorado Springs, where books were mailed out from back in the day before a certain someone rearranged RDF. We're not going to get into that in this video, but there were all sorts of different groups involved in Colorado Springs. For a long time, Becky Hale, who's the president of the American Humanist Association, she was a member of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs. Still is, but that's a large nationwide organization that is having a presence, pulling people one way. Then there's chapters of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Fred was he started up one chapter, and then another guy started up another, because all it takes to get your group affiliated with these larger groups is just to pay some money and fill out a form, whatnot. So then there was, RDF was affiliated with the Pikes Peak Skeptic Society more because of just the membership actually had jobs with them. And so we had Mikey Weinstein come up to the Air Force Academy a couple times from his, Military Religious Freedom Foundation. All these different groups, and each of them had their own little hierarchies, right? And when somebody didn't like the hierarchy that was there, they would just start their new group. And the biggest shakeup that I experienced was when the atheist community of Colorado Springs was born. That was Michael Fournier. He created it, and then he stole the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs' meetup group and renamed it, because there was a little schism within the group. And so the Freethinkers had to make a new meetup group for meetup.com. And basically that's how he got the start for his group. And he started doing things in a different way. And this is when I was oblivious to the whole social justice versus anti-social justice thing really taking shape. So here I was in the group that had the American Humanist Association in it and was very leaning towards social justice, and I was just really grasping the concepts, right? And I joined this group because they were non-religious, and I just wanted to see more non-religious stuff. So the atheist community of Colorado Springs, they started doing some very militant recruiting of members of other groups, and really chastising the other groups, and the infighting that happened between all of the groups eventually resulted in people not showing up to any of the groups. And a new group, Pikes Peak Atheists, popped up after I moved away from Colorado Springs, but I think they were born out of just, wanting another different direction. And there will be other atheist groups that pop up every time somebody thinks, you know what, I can do better. And what's the cost of starting up a group? Well, maybe $60 for a year of meetup.com membership, where you can host your own thing, and having a Facebook account for free, and then invite people to dinner. In fact, the Pikes Peak Skeptic Society, the best thing that they still do, that tight-knit group of people that I'm still in touch with them, they arrange dinner on Sundays sometimes at an Indian food restaurant, and we go eat chicken tikka masala. That's and seriously, after all of the activism that I did for atheism in general, the atheist movement, I think that the greatest thing that a group can do is just organize dinner. And this is coming from a guy who made the Mayan calendar survivor party and got a float in the St. Patrick's Day parade. That's why this shirt is so loud and green. That's what it was made for. I did a whole bunch of things like that, and I was being groomed as the vice president to be one day the president of the Freethinkers of Colorado Springs. And so I know that it doesn't take much other than showing up sometimes and being active to really get to just meaningless titles, really. But when I see that Aleksandr Kolpakov was the president of the Western Colorado Atheists and Freethinkers, I'm like, okay, well, they have a Facebook page with like 700 likes on it, right? The majority of those likes are not even people who live around the Grand Junction area. I'm one of those likes. I can see how many of my friends from Denver and Colorado Springs and from around the world, like, blog writers from different parts of the country that I'm also friends with on Facebook. I can see how many of them are also people who like Western Colorado atheists and freethinkers. There's a lot of people who will just like everything atheist, no matter whether they could possibly attend any of the meetings or not, because it's all the way on the other side of the frickin' state or country for some of them. So if I were to estimate how many people would show up if the Western Colorado atheists and freethinkers were to hold a rally, I would say about 30. And I think you guys know I'm a pretty good judge of how many people are going to show up to something. I'd say they could probably get 30 to show up to either protesting something religious or a potluck. That's about the size of the group. Now, am I right now affiliated with Freethinkers of Colorado Springs? No, I haven't gone to a meeting for them in over 3 years. Over 3 years. I haven't gone to anything that they've run. Because I moved to Denver, right? And after Aleksandr Kolpakov was arrested, and it was reported that he was formerly the president of Western Colorado Atheist and Freethinkers, the Western Colorado Atheist and Freethinkers were quick to correct the media and say he's no longer a part of our group and hasn't been active with us for a very long time. And that happens. Right? That fucking happens in this type of thing. And just to illustrate how splintered these atheist groups are, and how him being reported as being the president of Western Colorado Atheists and Freethinkers is about as important as if a different religious murderer were leading his own Bible study out of his house. Let me just show you the flyer from the place where I met him and got video of him that is on my channel. So this is the Colorado Secular Conference that happened in Grand Junction in 2012. This is prior to his stint as, just prior to his stint as the president of Western Colorado Atheists and Freethinkers. But I do remember him being there and sitting at a table representing a group. Now, for this, we finally learned that it was being organized by humanists doing good, right? And this was a new group to me when I finally got out there, but they created their own symbol that's based off of the American Humanist Association symbol. See that little jumping person, right? So they were the ones who organized this, and they were just Jesse, the guy who started it. They were promoting what they were doing, which was stuff like highway cleanup and adopting highways and stuff. Something that the Western Colorado Atheists and Freethinkers also do, because you get to put a sign up on the highways that you clean. And Atheist Community of Colorado Springs does the same thing too, right? Because that sign is golden to some people. But also, I remember learning of the Secular Coalition for America at this group, at this conference. It was just being started, and the new directors of all of Colorado for the Secular Coalition of America were named, and they were from Grand Junction because they were very active. And I believe a guy from Longmont, right? And I had never heard of these guys. Never, you know? So, additionally, sponsors of this event were Cocor. Now, I didn't say Coke whore, okay? I said Cocor. There's a difference. Cocor is the Colorado Coalition for Reason, which is supposed to link all of these different groups, because, you know, the outside national groups love to make chapters and like that kind of splinters things, like fast food restaurants having to decide whether they're going to feature Coke or Pepsi products, okay? So rather than having groups become affiliates of FFRF or American Humanist Association or whatnot, or American Atheists, rather than having the group splintered like that, somebody had the idea, well, why don't we make just a Colorado-wide group and call it Colorado Coalition for Reason and have every group be affiliates of that? Well, you can be an affiliate of more than one larger umbrella group, right? So there's groups that are created just to create more hierarchy and try to connect all these other groups because of all of the splintering, right? And basically, whenever anyone has any disagreements, there is always the chance that they will just say, fuck it, I'm just going to take my ball and go home, and you'll be sorry without me. And I'm going to start my own group, and it's going to be bigger than your group, and I'm going to put on my resume that I was the president, because I couldn't do it in your group, but now I'm going to be able to put that bullet point on my experience. Anyways, yeah, I remember this well, and I have many videos of it on my channel. Not as good as the videos I would make now because I have better equipment, but yeah. When I saw that Aleksandr Kolpakov was being reported as the former president of Western Colorado Atheists and Freethinkers, as if it were something newsworthy to add to this story, I'm like, it has nothing to do with it. He hasn't been a part of them for a long time, and pretty much anyone could be the president of their own little club where less than 30 people show up at any given time for any meeting, and that's really the thing that I'm adding to this story with this video, is that it doesn't really mean anything that he was Lord of the Flies for a little group that split off from a different group that split off from a different group. Yeah. See you all Tuesday after the arraignment, and maybe we'll learn a little bit more about how this case is going to go.